What's going on, everybody? I'm here with my my good friend Chris. As you guys know, Chris has been kind of on his own journey doing the soft wash stuff, and today we have a cool little update and a little video that we're going to show you guys and talk about some of the stuff Chris did this summer, how he got his business going, and some stuff he's planning on doing next year. So I'm sure you guys remember Chris's old truck from a couple of videos ago. He had the old Ram. Well, Chris has quickly realized it'd be a good idea to upgrade to this new bad boy. Let's get to a different angle here. Capital shingle shine, magnets on the door. It's a little bit different than the truck we saw a few videos ago. It was all rusted out. Chris, how's the new truck treating you, man?
Better than the old one.
Yeah, the last time that we were out working together, we were driving, and the rear end on his old Dodge started really going, and it was making some loud noises. And we were about a half hour away from his house, finished his last job, and we were about a mile from his house, and the rear end just blew out. And when I mean blew out, it sounded like a bomb went off. And we skidded to the side of the road. Cars behind us put on their brakes, and some guy actually ran out of his house because it was so loud. But this is what Chris has now. Got the white truck gang here, boys. The white truck gang. So Chris, let's talk about this setup here. Some of you guys will probably recognize this reel and this hose reel here. That's what I had on the back of my truck before I had the skid. What are we looking to do next year, Chris?
This 65 gallons probably going to pull towards the tailgate a little bit. We're going to replace it with a 100 gallon.
Okay.
The back window.
So you're putting a 100 gallon back here. Yeah. Okay. And then moving the 65 gallon forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're going to get a nice meter system going.
Okay, so he's going to get a metering system, a proportion system. Basically, we're going to mimic the skid that I have, where he's going to have a 100 gallon chem tank in the back, 65 gallon water tank, and then a little soap tank if he needs. He's going to prop up the hose reel, make this truck more efficient, and then we're going to have the pump system basically pull through the metering system like you guys seen on my videos. But Chris is going to be able to get a really nice setup going here with the hose reel and everything. I'm giving him my old 100 gallon tank. He's already got the 65 gallon tank, so he's going to have a really nice clean looking setup next year. He's got the ladder racks up top. What do you got here, 20-foot ladder?
This big one's 32. I'm not even sure. This is 20 something.
Yeah, that's probably right. 20 and a 32 ladder. But yeah, he's looking good. So Chris has had a good year and upgraded the truck. And next year he's going to have a sweet system back here. We're going to get that up and running, and it's basically going to mimic the skid, make him more efficient, be able to meter out his chem. But I don't know if you guys can tell, it is pissing out here. We're going to go back in the shed here and finish up. Just wanted to show you the truck and some of the nice progress that Chris is making with his business here. All right, how to get out of the rain? So we're in the shed.
Even though 10 out of 10 doctors say I look better wet.
Is that true? 10 out of 10 doctors, huh? That's excellent. So, so some of the things that I wanted Chris to kind of share and talk about was how his first season of basically soft washing and gutter cleaning and soon to be plowing is going. So I think what would help a lot of guys is basically what made you start. What was the start for you? What was the starting point? Kind of, I guess, the tipping point, if you will, from, man, I'm going to do this.
There's like a little backstory to that. So COVID happened, and I had just moved back home right before COVID happened. So I was working in TV and on the road in music, and then I was like pretty done with that industry, and then that industry was just gone, like permanently. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I can pinpoint the day I was next to you. I saw you in Lake George, and I didn't know that you were even doing this, and you showed me like some of your notebooks, some of the money that you had made, and I was like, no way.
Yeah, that was the day. That was the day that guy he owned that restaurant, the bar. He came out right on the spot.
Yep.
So we were just
that helped too. Right in the moment too. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah,
I just made more money in the last hour than I made in the last month. Like,
Yeah, we were just we were hanging outside in town in the village that I live in, and there was a bar, a parking lot that we were parked in, and they were you and our buddy Devin. They were up hiking, and I said, "I'm just finishing up the day. Like, I'll meet you in town." And we were sitting there talking, just hanging over the bed of our trucks, and they were looking at the setup that I had at the time, and I had a magnet that I got from...
I didn't even know what soft washing was.
Yeah, you had no idea.
No, this was like May.
I was still figuring it out. I had just got going. I had a magnet on the back of the truck that said, you know, the name of my business and that I did soft washing. And the owner of the bar came outside, and I kid you not, walked right up to me and goes, "Hey, is this your truck? I need some pressure washing done. I got some work around here you can do." And Chris's jaw and Devin's jaw just like dropped. And we've just been standing there talking about how, like, you know, if you just provide the service, like, people will ask you to do stuff.
It was so weird.
And this guy just walked up, and I ended up, I forget now, but I think it was like $1,200 that I got.
Job,
yeah, it was like right in the beginning of the season. It was kind of like the first job where I was like, all right, man, like, I can actually make some coin doing this. But okay, so that's funny. So keep going. That's good.
So that's why I was like, oh shit. Yeah, and then I started talking to you about it like pretty immediately, and I was talking to Devin about it. This is the money dude. And he was like, "You should do this." And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds like I should do this." And you were like, "Hey, you should do this." I was like, "I think maybe I should do this." So then, I think I got lucky. It was a combination of getting lucky and being smart. So I got the $1,200 stimulus check like everybody else. And I had just been fired from this restaurant that I just started working at. Not fired, but they shut down for COVID. And so I was getting unemployment. And I was like, I happen to have like $2,000 in my account. I could probably find a truck on Facebook for about that much. Mm-hmm. And I did. And it was that old rusty one. And yeah, that was game time. So then every week I was still getting unemployment. So I would load up on whatever I could afford of tools. And like a month and a half later, I was ready to rock. And I just started going. It was pretty fast and loose. And you pretty much showed me how to do it. Like, I mean, but that's kind of, we were just saying that's how it was kind of necessary for me to just kind of be like, okay, this, go. Otherwise, I would have just put it off forever like everything else. That grand idea that I ever had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was, it was similar to me. I had a good job, but I wanted to make more money. And like you and I were talking earlier, it's tough making money paycheck to paycheck all year round. Yeah. In this business, I've definitely you've seen pretty quickly and rapidly that you can get a year's income in just a few months. Like 6 months, half the year just gets dumped in your lap. So that's pretty exciting, and I wanted something like that. But the same thing, I mean, I was just sitting on the couch one night, and I knew I wanted to do something different. And I was sitting there talking to him. At the time, she was my fiance. I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, man, like, I want to go at this full, like, just full-blown go at it. And I sat on the couch that night on Amazon and Home Depot. I was buying tanks and hoses and hose reels and pumps and binge-watching YouTube videos, and decided I was going to do it. And here we are. So every one of us kind of gets that tipping point.
Everything's changed for both of us. I was like,
and everything changed pretty quickly.
Shocking to think about, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, you can control your schedule, control your time. I mean, we both busted our ass all summer long. I worked 2 jobs. I was basically working almost 20 hours a day, and it was tough, but it was definitely worth it. And now I'm solely self-employed, and I made my whole year's income basically in 6 months, from April or May to November. I got all my plow accounts set up, and now I hunt during the day, and that's about it. But I don't have to do anything until it snows. I watch the weather, and once spring comes around, I'll be ready to rock and roll and wash again. But it gives you freedom. It gives you freedom, and but you gotta be willing to go out, and you gotta be willing to hustle, and you gotta be willing to make that happen for yourself. So some of that kind of leads us into our next part, Chris. I mean, you kind of immediately have to switch gears from who you are right now and then what it takes. I mean, have you ever paid for marketing to market yourself before? I mean, you built a business page on Facebook. You're marketing yourself. I mean, that's a whole different drive. That's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
I know for myself, at the end of the day, 9 o'clock at night, I might not be working, and I might be in gym shorts and a t-shirt on the couch, but I'm on my Facebook page. I'm negotiating deals in Excel sheets. So I mean, it really changes. It really changes who you are and your mindset. So talk about like how you kind of started marketing. What were some of your marketing things? And
well, to get like into it, one of the things that I found that like every step of this way was that it's on you, and if you don't do it, it's not going to get done, and you're not going to be successful. But one way I would think about it to like help get me to do stuff would be like for marketing. Like, yeah, I've never done that before for business, but I'm in a band, and I was like, oh, okay, I've used Facebook ads before. That's easy. I could, and then it became something I now could do from something that I just would brush off as something that I wasn't capable of. You know what I mean? So it just took like a different approach to think about it, and that's kind of how I approached the whole thing. I was like, well, I've done construction, I've worked for theater, I could work with these tools, I understand this basically, and so that was important. But marketing, as we just found out, is hit or miss when you begin, and then you have to kind of fine tune it down. I spent a lot of money on Facebook, but I also found pretty quickly, this was just my experience, that Facebook was way better for me than mailers. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't give it enough time, but I also didn't really. I was, like I said, I was playing fast and loose, so I was making decisions real quick, and I committed to Facebook right off the rip, which was really useful. But as we'll get into, there's other avenues that I have to hit to really expand that.
Was Facebook profitable for you though?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
What do you think you pulled in from? Excuse me. What do you think you pulled in from Facebook? Just a rough number.
I mean, everything that I've gotten probably, which is, let's see, when did I start November? I don't know, maybe 50K.
50K in 5-6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
It was something I never thought about before. And when I think about it, sometimes what really fucked me up, I'm sorry, what really fucked me up was seeing your books and being like, oh, you made in 3 hours what I made in a week working for a television company in New York City. And
that was what really...
Whoa, that's not cool. Yeah. I worked so hard, only so many hours. I spent an hour in going to and from work every day not getting paid. And I was like thinking about like the money that I could have made not sitting in my car in traffic halfway. It was like really eye opening seeing the numbers, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is just bananas. And I had to figure out a way, even if it was like a kind of quick way to get in, I had to figure out a way to get in.
Right.
Because you can't do anything until you're in. You can start fine tuning things once you're there, and you encouraged me to do that because that's kind of how you did it too.
Yeah.
But I also think that this channel is really interesting because I never would have thought to do a lot of this stuff on my own.
Yeah.
But it's there to do if you have somebody saying, hey, look, over there. You're like, oh, shit, look at that.
Well, that's the main reason I started this, is because when I was getting started, I learned everything from YouTube. But I wanted to learn more, and it would have been helpful to see things differently. And that's all I've been trying to do here, is just show you what is or isn't working for me, and trying to show like what is and isn't working for you. But you can only learn so much from YouTube and reading. What's really interesting about this is how much you have to learn it all on the go. You have to put yourself out there. You have to take the risk. My first job was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Everything went wrong. I had chlorine spilling out of my truck. I made a wand in the beginning that completely fell apart. I mean, it was ridiculous. I left. I didn't rinse the windows. I got a call back about the windows being foggy, and it was a nightmare. But that's how you learn.
I had those for weeks.
Yeah.
Many months.
Yeah. And that's another great point when, talking about jumping into it, learning as you go. A big thing is managing your money so you can continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Chris earlier. I've been doing some of my end of year numbers, And I've been tallying up my expenses, been going through my receipts, my bank accounts, everything, and looking at all the money that I spent over the last wash season. A tremendous amount of money, and Chris and I talked about it, he can agree, a tremendous amount of money was spent trying to basically jerry-rig a wash setup together. In the beginning, when I was building my business, I was looking at, do I want to get an actual skid like I have now? But I was scared of spending, you know, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $9,000 right off the rip. So I built piece by piece my own setup, and it worked. Made a lot of money really quick. But it seemed like every single day I was at Home Depot, every single day I was at Lowe's, and sometimes it was multiple days. The fittings weren't working, the fittings didn't fit right. I have a leak. I was using a lot of brass.
You go get the right size, swear it was the right size, get back. It's not the right size, you gotta go right back.
It's brutal. So I know it's difficult in the beginning to shell out a lot of money for equipment. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. You're gonna have to just piece it up and work your way there.
And that's what I did. I was on unemployment, and I was like doing it for. It took me about 2 months to go piece by piece until I was finally confident. And I even brought it up to you, and I was like, "Does this thing run?" And I couldn't figure out why, and it was because I had the hoses. I hadn't looked at the arrows. And the motors, and I had the hoses all turned around backwards. And it was just like I'd spent 2 months trying to put that thing together. But it's just persistence. It's just getting up every day and being like, okay, this is what I have to do today. Let's do this. But once that, it's kind of like steering a battleship. Once you got it moving, it's gonna go. You know, but just getting it moving is a little tough.
Well, it's important to, if you have, like in the beginning, I had the money. In the beginning, I had the money saved to where I could have bought the skid that I have now up front. And I chose not to because I guess at the time I didn't really believe in myself or that I was going to go anywhere, so I didn't want to blow that kind of money. Now looking back, I wish that I had bought that skid or just better equipment in the beginning. If you can't, you can't. But if some of you guys are watching this and you know you have money saved up, you hate your job, you want to take a leap. Yeah, I mean that's most of the guys watching this channel. They're looking for something.
For a long time.
They're looking for something else to do. They don't want their current job. If you have the money saved up and you can buy a skid and you want to give this a shot, I would definitely do that because you're going to spend a tremendous amount of time and money jerry rigging something up. I did it and then I bought a new skid and it's been incredible. And I wish that I had done it differently. Hindsight's always going to be 20/20. I'm just telling you what I saw, what I did. Make your own decision on that, I guess. But just a little piece of advice because you can attest. I mean, I've been with you on a few days. Stuff goes wrong. Hoses come undone. Things don't. It's just if you can avoid it.
I've gone around of course, the first thing I thought of was going washing the whole backside of the house. Coming back to realize the entire time your chlorine tank has been leaking outside through your whole truck down the driveway. You've lost half your tank of chem, and now you have to unstain their driveway.
So once April comes around, I'm sure I'll be spending some time with Chris, and we're gonna get that set up way more efficiently. Splitter, multiple tanks, no more batch mixing. That's another thing. I batch mixed for a long time in the beginning. Chris has been batch mixing. The second that you can stop batch mixing, do it. All little things that you're going to find out along the way. Everyone does. But hopefully these little conversations and us putting it out there can save you the steps and the trouble and the money that we have spent to figure it all out. So
even so, though, it's worth pointing out that it's been worth it. I was telling you, I had a horrible day last week. It was one of my last wash days. I had a terrible day. I ended up basically like net negative $800 through no fault of my own, of course, as anybody would say. But it wasn't, I swear. I was sitting there like just kind of wallowing, and then I realized that I was still happier than I was at the end of my day at like a job previous to that. You know? And it was just like, okay, I brush it off, go back tomorrow, make more than I lost today. So it's just, and that's a reality. You can make back double tomorrow what you lost today, and you totally forget about it in 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's a point that I wanted to make earlier about. It doesn't matter if. Soft washing is just one style of business. This model can be done for anything. Installing carpet, painting, cabinetry. It's just a small business. It could be lawn care. Some guys do the Christmas lights. what we're talking about is not just exclusive to soft washing. It can be anything. You run it the same. It's just I'm choosing to soft wash. But at my old job, when I worked all year round, I was making, let's just say, $200 a day, 5 days a week. Now I go out, and in the morning I have a $200 small house wash. Then I go to a $425 roof wash. Then I go to a $300 house wash, and then I go to another $500 roof wash. 4 jobs in a day, and I just made more money in that day than I would have made in a month working at my job. So that is why businesses like this, again, whether it's lawn care or carpentry, when you're out there making your own schedule and you're naming your own price and stuff like that, you can pile up money quick and work 6 months a year if you want to. Yeah. It's any of these types of jobs. You guys might be watching these videos because you think it's cool, but you don't want to soft wash. But if you're a carpenter or anything like that, yeah. I mean, you can make your own business and create your own lifestyle and not work for the man, as you say. I mean, I worked in a jail, and it was a neat experience, but I worked in a jail. Like, I didn't want to do that for 30 years. I worked nights in a jail, which is even worse. I just didn't want to do it. And, you know, it's... Yeah. I'm assuming that if you guys are watching channels like this, whether it's me or Southeast Soft Wash or Powerful Improvements, I mean, any of these channels, you guys are watching this because you're looking for a way out. But it doesn't have to be soft washing. It's just find something that you can profit off of, and it's incredible the amount of money that you can make out of the back of a pickup truck.
I have a personal note I want to interject. What you were just saying, so I was not only like between jobs, but I was also in a really weird place in my life, and doing something like this, having to wake up every day and have it be on you and having to figure out how things are, translates into other parts of your life. So then, like, I was able to kind of pull myself out of this hole that I dug myself into, and but a lot of it was because every day I had to wake up and I knew that I had to answer to myself or I was screwed. You know what I mean? It wasn't like waking up, punching the clock. There was like some value in the things that I was doing, and I could see it, and I could see the rewards of it pretty much immediately. Yeah. And so, like, even now, like you were just saying, there's other businesses you can translate this to. I'm doing something with my mom involving furniture. I do windows too now, and it's all stuff that I kind of learned previous in my life, but I realized I can apply the same model to. Sure. And it's really helped out both professionally and personally, because you really learn that, like, do it or you are the one that doesn't benefit. Like, it's a very direct, like, action to consequence. I agree. So I think that's important.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. Yeah, that's a good point. We kind of went over the equipment and efficiency and stuff like that. What's like your biggest takeaway from this year? Like, what is something that you learned this year that you don't want to do next year, or something that you learned this year that you do want to do next year? I mean, this is obviously not a one season, a one-hit wonder, right? We need to repeat this next year. I think we both discovered that, maybe this year we spent a little bit more money than we wanted to. You had to buy the truck. I bought the skid. We both bought plows. We both bought ladders. There's a lot of
so expensive.
Tanks. There's a lot of stuff that we're not going to have to buy again next year. There's a lot of stuff that we are going to have to still pay for. We're still going to have to pay for insurance and chlorine, insurance for the vehicles, that kind of stuff. By the way, I was telling Chris earlier, I have spent about 6 or 7 hours this week building out a massive Excel sheet. Every receipt, every credit card swipe that I made this year, all my expenses, which I'm backing up against all my income this year, and basically creating patterns to show how much money I made on Facebook, how much money I made on Home Advisor, how much money I basically made in marketing in general, some of the expenses on insurance, basically ways that I'm going to be able to figure out how to budget my next season and forecast like a Fortune 500 company. So we talked about marketing for one thing. I know that I spent about $15,000 on marketing this year, and I know that my return was about, let's say, $35,000, $40,000. I think it was higher than that. So that gives me a waypoint next year on where my budgeting for marketing should be. I'm not going to touch too much on that right now, but as you guys know, I do have the private Facebook group going. All of that is going to be covered in detail in there. We're going to talk about it a little bit here, but I'm going to be walking through a lot of guys on that. A lot of you guys have already signed up for the group. We've been slowly getting guys in there. It's been looking good. So just want to let you guys know that there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the group, a more in-depth look on basically how my season looked, the numbers, and basically Excel sheets and formats on basically how you guys can basically be reporting and keeping track of your income. And maybe I'll do a little teaser on that later just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But, well, teaser.
I hardly know.
Little teaser. But anyway, it is important to kind of have all that stuff down. So what are some of the things that you learned this year, some of the stuff that you spent money on that you're hoping to not have to do next year and vice versa?
First thing is I have to be way more vigilant on all the money in and out. Like I said, it was kind of like, I kind of just like, was like shooting pistols as I rode, like we're seeing what happens here, and just honestly, a lot of it was seeing like if I had what it took to do it.
Yeah.
And once I realized that I did, I probably should have tightened it up. But that's the weird thing is I did budget, I did all these receipts, I did all that stuff for a TV show. And I have to start doing that for myself now. Because I really, the funny thing is, you can make enough money to not keep track of it. As long as you're not being ridiculous, you can make enough money to not keep track of it and be okay. But if you want to be successful long term, you have to start doing that. And so that's something that I have to start doing.
Yeah.
And like that's something that will then translate into life. Like I was just saying, like not just doing it for this business, doing it for rental properties when you want to get into that, doing it for other businesses that you're into, doing a giant LLC and doing it for the different businesses under that and for the main one. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's something I got to tighten up on.
Yeah, I mean, tracking your money is definitely important. I mean, you know how it is. In the beginning of the year, it does. You go fast or loose. You're trying to figure it out on the go. I mean, there were days when I was driving around. If I opened up my center console, there was like $3,000 of cash sitting in there, and it would just fall out. And you lose track of money, but it is important to keep track of it. And I'll put a couple shots of the Excel sheet in here. It's important. Once you start tracking the money and you start knowing how much you're making, how much you're spending on advertising, how much that cost is, how much you're profiting off of that expense to get your name out there, what you're spending on supplies, what you're spending on chlorine, you can really start figuring out how to have a really efficient business and have basically a cash cow. So,
it's kind of crazy. It almost feels like a scam.
Yeah.
But like that's also coming from me. I didn't come. I mean, I worked in like theater and things like that, but I didn't come from a contractor world, so I never understood that side of the world. I was always like, go to college, get the job. This is a salary. And I didn't have, my parents, neither of them are super educated. I don't think either of them has a 4-year degree. Yeah. So it's like, I never quite understood. And then I start talking to my builder friends, and he's like, oh, a taper and a drywaller makes this much a day. And I'm like, what? Yeah. I had no idea. But it's the same business model, basically. They're doing the same thing. They just have their own special technique that they apply to whatever they're doing. You know?
Well, it is. You said the word special. I mean, it is a specialty. It is a niche, and I think it's a niche that is only 10 years in the making, and I think it's only maybe 10 or 15 years, but it's blowing up. I mean, look at YouTube right now. Look at the guys like us right now we're just figuring it out. We're all just figuring it out. It's blowing up, and that's why there is such a potential to make money, and everyone who's watching this video should be trying to grab a little piece. I mean, you and I have talked about it. I don't think that running a soft wash business is ever going to make you a millionaire, but you can work 6 or 7 months out of the year. You can make good money, and you can call your own shots. And
it could be a doorway into other things too.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about getting rental properties and stuff like that. There's a young kid, I can't remember his name, but he has a landscaping channel on YouTube, and we were talking about him earlier. He was like 21, made $1 million with his landscape business, basically doing hardscaping. So they would mow lawns, do leaf care, basically get their entryway onto people's property, and then they would sell them on $30,000 and $40,000 hardscapes, stone fireplaces, patios around pools. And in the interview that they were having, the guy asked him, you know, where do you see yourself in the next few years with your landscape business? And the kid said that it was just a means to an end. He was using landscape to build cash flow, and he wanted to get into real estate. That's something that you and I talked about. You know, I'm not going to be a real estate mogul, but I wouldn't mind having 1 or 2 or 3 rental properties. 10. and doing this on the side. I mean, you never know. But it definitely can give you a comfortable lifestyle and let you call the shots. And I mean, you guys can see it around, whether it's you know, John Lang or Powerful Improvements again, Southeast Soft Wash, just to name the guys. They look comfortable. Yeah. They've all got their own. They all got their own gig going, and they're driving nice trucks. And Chris just bought a nice truck. I mean, you can live a good lifestyle, but you know, you got to take a little risk. You got to take a little risk, though.
Well, that's what it takes. But I love that truck. But in that same vein, it's the comfortability. It's like, even in the beginning, even playing fast and loose, just the change in lifestyle was so drastic and so nice. When I get up, I know I'm making money that day. I know I'm coming home with more money than I had. I know that I'm going to spend my day listening to Joe Rogan podcast or something like that. Nobody's going to be in my ear nagging me about something that I don't care about to just punch a time clock. I'm driving around through like the Adirondacks looking at nice trees all day. It's just like my mood is just always good. I'm always chilling. Yeah. It's like even when it's like go time, it's still a process that like you get down pretty quickly. So you can do go time and still be chilling at sea level and not stressing out, not having the meltdowns and stuff like that. It's beautiful. I can't even.
It is.
It's hard to describe how much better my daily mood is just from changing, getting out of the rat race, so to speak, and just doing my own thing.
I mean, well, basically, we've been going here for almost a half hour. I mean, we'll wrap it up, and we covered some stuff, but all I really want, the takeaway of this video, and really any video that I've ever posted on this channel, is that I want it to basically just be an inspiration. I mean, we're winging it, really, and I'm just showing you it along the route and how Chris is doing, and Chris is winging it and just figuring it out just like me as we go. All I want is this should be motivation for other guys. I mean, if you want to get out and do something like this, regardless of what it is, carpentry or pool cleaning or whatever it can be,
it's certainly possible.
You guys can do it, and
no one's do it.
Yeah, you just have to do it.
That's the biggest hurdle. Anybody can do it. It's just doing it. That's the biggest. It sounds so simple, but it's really the barrier.
You literally just have to put yourself out there and do it. Yeah. And if you want to make $50,000 a year running your own business and living a modest lifestyle, you can do it. If you want to run your own business and end up having 10 trucks and 20 employees and you're making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, you can do that too. But either way, it's your choice. It's not someone else's. It's not clocking in and clocking out and having a boss and a manager. You can choose. I mean, I told Chris earlier, again, looking at the Excel sheets I built, I know now that I need to make $30,000 a year to cover my lifestyle, my truck, my house, my land, $30,000 a year. So if I make $50,000, I can pay for everything that I have now, the truck that I drive, and the house that I live in, and the land that I hunt, and have a little bit of money in my pocket. That's great. Or I can strive to make $70,000, or strive to make $80,000, or if I want to have a fleet truck, I can strive to have $90,000 or $100,000 or $300,000. Yeah. You can choose to do that. I'm pretty happy making what I'm making right now. We'll see what next year brings, but the point...
that house in France.
House in France. I don't know if soft wash is going to do it. Maybe it's real profit, but the point is that you can put yourself in control, and you can decide how much money you want to make. I mean, the craziest thing that I've ever heard is I signed up a guy for plowing this year. He lives down the road from me. It was a nice one. It's $1,500 for the season. The guy's from Massachusetts, and
where?
Right down the road here. Massachusetts?
Yeah, there we go.
And I went and talked to him, and he asked me if I was going to be reliable, and I said, well, of course. I told him I'm trying to build a business here in town, and I'm going to be here if I need to be here. And he said that the guy that he had last year called him up in February and said that he had made enough money for the year, and he was no longer plowing the guy's driveway, and left him stranded with 3 months of winter left. I kid you not, and that blew my mind. And in that guy's defense, it's not something that I would ever want to do. I'm glad he did it because it got me money. But in his defense, he was working for himself, and he decided that he made enough money, and he kind of, in my opinion, screwed himself.
Yeah.
He screwed himself in the long run. Maybe he was elderly and he's retiring, but at whatever reasoning that he had to do that business decision, he was able to make it.
Yeah.
And he was done plowing for the year.
That's wild.
So, whatever message that sends you, however you receive that, take it. But he was able to just say he was done. He'll never probably get that guy again. That's my account now. But whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
So, good for him. But that's basically it. So,
yeah.
see you around.